Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. I have chosen the verse Sri Caitanya Caritamrita, Adi Lila chapter 3, text 27. This is a verse Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami has put, and it's also there in Laghu Bhagavatamrita by Rupa Goswami. And in Laghu Bhagavatamrita, this verse is presented as being written by Bilva Mangala Thakur, Lila Sukha, the relisher of Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan. Santavatara Bahava Pankajanabhasya Sarvato Bhadra Krishnad Anya Kovalatash Sapi Prema Do Bhavati Santavatara Bhava Pankajanabhasya Sarvato Bhadra Krishnadanya Kovalatash Sapi Prema Do Bhavati Santu, let there be Avatara, incarnations, Bahava, many, Pankajanabhasya, of the Lord, from whose navel grows a lotus flower, Sarvata Bhadra, completely auspicious, Krishnat, then Lord Krishna, Anya, other, Kava, who possibly, Latasu, on the surrendered souls, Api, also, Premada, the bestower of love, Bhavati is. Translation: there may be many all auspicious incarnations of the personality of Godhead, but who, other than Lord Sri Krishna, can bestow love of God upon the surrendered souls? Purport: this quotation from Bilva Mangala Thakur is found in the Laghu Bhagavatamrita. Translation again: there may be many all auspicious incarnations of the personality of Godhead, but who, other than Lord Sri Krishna, can bestow love of God upon the surrendered souls? Om Agana Chimadandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Militang Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. This verse is pointing out that there is something more confidential, first of all, that Krishna does than killing the demons. And then, secondly, it's pointing to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who, as Krishna himself, the original personality of Godhead, distributes love of Krishna. More than doing the work of an ordinary Yuga avatar, which is to establish the principles of Dharma for a particular age. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is doing something more confidential. Just as Krishna is doing something more confidential than merely killing the demons. Earlier in this chapter, it's explained that the work of killing the demons is done by Vishnu. When Krishna appears, All the incarnations appear along with him. So whenever Krishna's dispatching a demon, that is Vishnu within Krishna. Krishna has more confidential things to do than just terminate demons. Krishna has more confidential things to do than even establishing Dharma as ordinarily understood. Because there's a deeper meaning to Dharma, and that Krishna is very much interested in. The deepest meaning of Dharma that Krishna will demonstrate is Sarva Dharmam Prajaja Mamekam Sharanam Praja. Abandon all your conceptions of what is Dharma and just do what I say. That is Dharma. So he shows that with Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Arjuna didn't want to fight for his own reasons. He was thinking, I can't win either way. If I win the war, so many persons with whom I would want to celebrate with, because they're on the other side, they'll be dead. And if I lose the war, I'll be miserable too. So he's thinking in terms of his own happiness. That changes. And at the end of Bhagavad Gita, he tells Arjuna, Arjuna tells Krishna, Nashta moha smitir labda, karishye vachanam tava. My illusion's gone. I'll act according to what you say. That means I'll act 100% for your happiness. I didn't see how there would be happiness for me in fighting this war. I'm thinking of my own conceptions. But I'll drop that and take your standard of happiness. But Dharma goes even deeper than that during Krishna Leela. There's the Rasa Leela, in which the most intimate devotees of Krishna race out from home in the middle of the night to be with Krishna. Being with Krishna is the ultimate Dharma. But to create excitement in the pastime, it looks like these intimate devotees of Krishna belong to a husband. That's just to add flavor. But everyone is Krishna's energy. And Krishna has nothing to do with anyone in material bodies or material conceptions of life. So that is Dharma at its deepest level, as displayed in Krishna Leela. Whatever Krishna wants, sacrifice everything for Krishna's happiness. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Prittanaya sadhunam vinashaya chaduskritam. Dharma samstapana taya sambhava yuge. Besides annihilating the miscreants and delivering the devotees, Krishna establishes Dharma by his appearance. But the understanding of Dharma has many different levels. The deepest Dharma is simply to be attracted to Krishna because of his name, form, qualities, and pastimes. In the ordinary sense, Dharma means the routine principles of civilization, of which you don't see today, because you actually don't live in a civilization. So, besides establishing routine Dharma, Krishna is, through his Leela, his personal pastimes, attracting living entities. This is his confidential mission as Krishna. And later we'll go into Krishna's confidential mission as Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. But as Krishna, his confidential mission is to display content that will attract the minds of the conditioned souls and attract the minds of the liberated souls. Those who have something to do with the internet. I see Ananta Vrindavan in the back there. He's an internet walla. There's a saying in the internet world, content is king. You've got to have attractive content and ever variegated content on your website, on your Facebook page, so that people will constantly come back to it. They want content. Well, Krishna is the content king with his Leela. He knows, and he purposely designs his pastimes in such a way that they're unforgettable. At the end of the 9th canto, the last chapter, the prelude to the 10th canto, Shukadeva Goswami explains that Krishna, knowing Kali Yuga is coming, acts in such a way that the devotees in Kali Yuga can be freed from material desires just by focusing on his activities. This is advanced strategic planning. Krishna knows the age is coming where all the decent qualities that are in a normal society will be destroyed. So he acts in such a way that he benefits the people of his time, the living entities of his time, liberating some, annihilating others. And he also acts for the future, for us. So this activity of displaying the Braj Leela is a confidential activity done by Krishna. He's concerned that, first of all, these pastimes are eternal, but he wants those in the material world to see them. And also, the acharyas explain, by Krishna's displaying his Leela in the material world, the pastimes become more, it's like polishing a gem. Or it's like bringing a light into a dark room. The light really stands out. Whereas in the spiritual world, in Vaikuntha, everything is all spiritual. So you could say, the acharyas explain, that Krishna's pastimes in the spiritual world, they don't stand, they are what they are, but they don't stand out, ordinarily speaking, as much as they do in the material world, because of the darkness in the material world and the bright light of Krishna's pastimes. They become even more unforgettable. So Krishna has all this in mind when he comes. But then, Kaviraj Goswami in Caitanya Caritamrita reveals Krishna's inner thought process, because Krishna is a person. Krishna starts to think. For a long time, I actually haven't distributed Brajabhav. I haven't distributed intimate love for me. The whole world worships me with awe and reverence. But that kind of relationship doesn't satisfy me sufficiently. In fact, Kaviraj Goswami describes Krishna pointing out this attraction for me, riddled with awe and reverence, becomes crippled. Now, how can that be? I often give the example. Suppose you were surrounded by persons 24/7 who are simply glorifying you. Oh, how great you are. How majestic you are. You have unlimited strength. You have unlimited this and that. At first, you would like it. You say, at last, everyone recognizes the reality. You are the most beautiful. Your form. But you get tired of it after a while. After a while, you would start thinking, I want to have some fun. Will you get out of here? Who could I have loving exchanges with? Where are my friends? Where are my lovers? Where are my loving, affectionate parents? That's why even the most famous persons in the mundane world, they want warm and non-reverential dealings. I was reading once how one of the richest men in the world, Bill Gates, sometimes he just wants to have a regular relationship and meet friends. He puts on a disguise and goes out in Seattle. You've heard that reminder, right? and just goes to a pub and just makes friends and chats with people, because he just gets tired of being cooped up with his fame and celebrity status. You never know, people just want to deal with you because of your money. So Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, says that I want to experience the love of my devotees, but that love I want to be uninhibited by awe and reverence. So he has to teach that himself. No one else can do that but Krishna. First of all, no one can display the Braja Leela other than Krishna. But secondly, no one can distribute that flavor other than Krishna. In fact, no one can teach it other than Krishna. It's his inner drawer activities. They're in the closet. And so only he can reveal them. Only he can teach about them. So Krishna is thinking, for a long time I actually haven't distributed confidential, loving affairs. I haven't done it. This verse today is pointing out only Krishna as Swayam Bhagavan can bestow Krishna Prem upon the surrendered souls. This is a special inner activity only done by the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. He doesn't entrust this activity to his expansions and incarnations. Bestower of love upon the surrendered souls. Prabhupada wants to emphasize the surrender. Then you look at Baladev Vidyabhusan, who comments on Laghu Bhagavatamrita, and he says this lata refers to the creepers in Ayodhya, but most importantly, the creepers in Braj, lata. Who else but Krishna can cause that the creepers and plants constantly shower tears of ecstasy and their hairs stand on end in the form of their branches, leaves? Only Krishna can do that. Srila Baladev Vidyabhusan points out that in Ram Leela, the creepers and plants and trees cried only one time. They cried when Ram was exiled to the forest. But in Braj, the creepers and trees and plants cry every day, even when Krishna is nearby. So the point is, who can do that other than Krishna? Swayam Bhagavan. You read in Braj Leela how when Krishna would walk through the forest with the cowherd boys, the trees would bend down with their branches laden with fruit, offering obeisances in that way. The trees would be showering sap and honey, and their hairs would stand on end in the form of their leaves, and creepers would stand erect in ecstasy. That would happen every day, not just one time. So the Baladev Vidyabhusan and Rupa Goswami use that to point out this is the specialty of Krishna. He can cause such a reaction. He can bestow love in such a way that he gets such a reaction every day. Now we go to the bestowing of such love upon the conditioned souls. No incarnation, no expansion can do that. It's something personal that only Krishna does himself, and he does that as Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. So Krishna is looking at the yuga changes. I appeared at the end of Dwapara Yuga, and I displayed my loving pastimes, but not very few understood what I was doing. This is amazing for us to understand that during the appearance of Krishna, very few understood he was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You like to stress your vision. Oh, if I see something, I know what I'm seeing. You don't know what you're seeing. Even Krishna is right before your eyes, and you can't recognize him, which is the case for almost everyone during Krishna's manifest pastimes. A few thought he's a demigod. Fewer still thought he's the super soul. But very few understood this is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Most persons thought he's the most powerful person on the planet right now. Just like in whatever country you're from, the topmost athlete is most revered. He's the greatest golf player. He's the greatest cricketer. So that's what they thought about Krishna. He's number one in terms of human beings, in terms of strength and intelligence and beauty, but he's one of us. So there is Krishna right before your eyes, and you don't know who he is. And Krishna's further lamenting. Not only do they not know who I am, but the very few who know who I am, their love is so bound up in awe and reverence. I want something better. Krishna, you could say, in his transcendental, impeccable, perfect way, is not satisfied with his relationships. In that, he wants deeper. He's the supreme enjoyer. So he can arrange whatever he likes unlimitedly. One of the characteristics of Bhagavan, revealed in Caitanya Caritamrita, is that there's a characteristic called Swaraja Lakshmi. This, Kaviraj Goswami explains, means that Krishna has unlimited desires. Now, perhaps you've heard me point out before, our desires are very important, no matter how trivial and temporary their object is. But can you have unlimited desires? Think about it. Try to get up to 10 desires. You can't. You start out with what? Well, I want a nice relationship that lasts for more than a few months. I want money that doesn't go away. I want a big house. Okay. And the house should be in a scenic area. And what else? I want nice relatives. I want kids who listen to what I say all their life. And you're getting up to 6 or 7, you know. And most of those desires are just different shades of the same thing. So finally you get desperate and you throw in, when you get to 8 or 9, you throw in, I want world peace. May the economy not crash. But you really can't get past 10 desires. Try it. So how can you conceive of Krishna who has unlimited desires? That's beyond your comprehension. But that's not all. Kaviraj Goswami explains that Swaraja Lakshmi means not only does Krishna have unlimited desires, but he has the unlimited capacity to satisfy every one of his unlimited, infinite desires. That, Kaviraj Goswami says, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's Caitanya Caritamrita's enhanced definition of Bhagavan. We're always taught in Bhakti Shastri class or your classes for newcomers that Bhagavan means the possessor of the 6 opulences, all wealth, strength, knowledge, renunciation, fame, beauty, unlimitedly. But Kaviraj Goswami takes it a step further. Krishna has unlimited desires and the unlimited ability to satisfy every one of his unlimited desires. That is God. So, here is Krishna thinking. The love that they have for me is not sufficient. And I have not distributed confidential love for me. I haven't distributed Brajabhav. And only I can do that. Simultaneously, as Krishna is thinking this, it's time for the Yuga Dharma to be presented. It's time for the routine, from Krishna's point of view, routine maintenance work for the material world, for the universe. It's time that whatever the Dharma is for the particular age, it's time for that to be propagated and demonstrated. So that Yuga Dharma for Kali Yuga, of course, is congregational glorification of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Krishna has a responsibility to propagate that Yuga Dharma. But simultaneously, he's got a more intimate desire. I want to distribute Braja Prem. So these two reasons join together as the most visible reason why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appears. Remember, it's time to establish the Yuga Dharma, Harinam Sankirtan, and it's also the desire of the Lord to teach and distribute Braja Prem. So therefore, Swayam Bhagavan himself, not just a plenary expansion or a Yuga avatar, Swayam Bhagavan, the original personality of Godhead himself, has to appear by his own desire. Has to, because only he can do this as the original personality of Godhead. Only he can teach Braja Prem, and certainly only he can distribute it. So there you have the visible reason. I use the word visible, and we may go into this more tomorrow. Because sometimes when devotees read Caitanya Caritamrita and see that there's the external reason for Lord Chaitanya's appearance, or it's called incidental, or it's called secondary, they have some notion that this means inferior, when that's not actually the case. It means there's a reason that's visible, and then there's a very hidden reason, which we'll talk a little bit about tomorrow. So this understanding is very important, that secondary or external or incidental doesn't mean, as we would think in the material sense, weaker or not so important. It means something done at the same time that is visible to you, whereas there's something more going on that's not visible to you. So we'll talk about that tomorrow, what is less visible and what is actually at the heart of Lord Chaitanya's appearance. But you have to bear in mind that what's in the heart of Lord Chaitanya's appearance doesn't make what is visible inferior. So even devotees make this mistake, what to speak of non-devotees. Here's how the mistake manifests. And you may encounter it in this neck of the woods. In the early days of ISKCON, one of Prabhupada's godbrothers came to Canada. Devotees there describe it. Devotees who were there at the time. And you can also see in Prabhupada's correspondence, because the devotees didn't know anything, and they were asking, one of your godbrothers came to Canada, invited by a famous professor, Joseph O'Connell, who had many interactions later with Prabhupada. One of your godbrothers came, and he was saying that he heard what we were doing. He knew we were in the audience when he gave a talk at a hall. And he said, well, actually, these preaching activities are not very important at all. And Lord Chaitanya never preached more. He never preached much. He simply relished. So you can do these preaching activities, but you should know that they're insignificant compared to what Lord Chaitanya is really all about. So the devotees they didn't know what to make of this. So they wrote Prabhupada, and Prabhupada wrote back a hot answer. He took it very seriously that Uh, out of envy, some of his own brethren were trying to ruin Lord Chaitanya's preaching mission. So this misunderstanding can continue even today. Oh, preaching, book distribution, Harinam Sankirtan. What about relishing? That's where Mahaprabhu is really at. At night, in his room with Srup Damodar and Ramananda Roy, just relishing the most intimate pastimes of Krishna. That's what we should be doing. That's the real society of devotees. But we'll speak more tomorrow about how the external is related to the internal. They're just two sides of the same coin. So we're at the point now where Krishna wants to accomplish something that he couldn't do as Krishna. What couldn't he do as Krishna? He couldn't taste himself. He couldn't taste love of himself. But that's for tomorrow. For now, understand that Krishna is seeing he has some tasks need to be done. Not tasks in the ordinary sense. He wants the love to increase. And he looks back at his appearance in this world as Krishna and says, the work has not been complete. I want something more. I displayed these pastimes of Vrindavan to attract everyone. I created content for them, eternal content. But I want something more. I want that the living entities understand loving relationships with me. Particularly the four rasas. Kaviraj Goswami points out that Shantaras, the fifth ras, is it's given a shaky status amongst the Vaishnava acharyas because you just put your toe in the door. That's what Shantaras is. Oh, how great is God, His glories, His majesty. But there's no service. But as soon as there's a little service, Shantaras converts to Dasaras, servitude. The danger of merely appreciating the greatness and inconceivable powers of God, which for most people is a step far up. I remember going to church as a little boy, and they would teach us this song, "How great thou art. Thus sings my soul, my Savior God. I sing to thee, how great thou art. When I see the mountains, when I see the seas, how great thou art." There's a problem with that. As soon as you simply consider God great, what's the next step? Gimme. Order supplier. This is what I want. How great thou art. So Krishna wants more than that. He wants to flood the world with knowledge of the four rasas, and particularly the topmost or most confidential rasa. So this is all going on when Krishna's contemplating his appearance as Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Actually, Mahaprabhu appears early in Kali Yuga, approximately 4,500 years into Kali Yuga, Mahaprabhu appears. So we're still at the beginning, and you see how confused and devastated people are. You really don't want to be around unless it's for Krishna's service. You don't want to be around too long. All right, any questions? Yes.
One could feel that if the pastimes of Krishna in the material world are more bright, why should we go back to the spiritual world? It must be very boring.
I said they seem more bright because of the contrast. There are many ways of looking at these things. It's not, just either this or that. So the acharyas are teaching you how to relish aspects from different angles. You're dealing with spiritual phenomena. So Krishna's pastimes are what they are. It's just that in the material world, they seem more accented because the material world is such a dreary place. It doesn't mean that Krishna enjoys less or more here or there. He's always enjoying. And also, his pastimes in the material world present some items that are not there in Goloka Vrindavan, his childhood pastimes. So Krishna has the right to spice things up in certain places. It's personalism. The awareness that Krishna is the child is there, but Krishna's in the form of Navayovana, the ever-fresh youth, even though the feelings of his being someone's son are there. But in this material world, his spiritual form displays childhood, boyhood, so forth. So that's Krishna's personalism. He decides, I'll add some special accent to my manifest pastimes in the material world. Don't hold that against him. Anything else?
We say that originally we're all Krishna conscious, and Prabhupada always talks about going back home and developing. So we have eternal relationships, and specifically with Krishna. So can we say that our absence from the spiritual world is momentary?
You could certainly say that, although there's no time in the spiritual world, but because we're thinking and discussing with our intelligence, which is hemmed in by time and space, then we always have to think in that way. First this, then that. Step one, step two. Yesterday, today, tomorrow. But you could say that our absence is momentarily. That's momentary. You could say that. What else do you have in mind? I knew it was something.
I understand it. It's like if we're all in the spiritual world, I mean, trying to grasp it. You're there and you're not there.
Well, where you are, that's something very mysterious. Where exactly you are in the spiritual world. Because actually, everything is Krishna's energy. Prabhupada would answer in that way sometimes. Where is there not Krishna? Now, what will you say? Well, you're just saying that. Let's be more precise here. But the real vision is everything is Krishna's energy. Krishna's everywhere. How can you fault someone for saying that reality? What do you say now? Okay. Actually, in one of... Huh?
It's like, in this world, you experience relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And they're constant.
And what?
When someone goes away.
Yes.
I guess it's the same thing, the same thing again. I'm trying to understand that absence from the spiritual world.
You can't understand it in terms of time and space. You have to think of consciousness more than geography. And finally, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, as soon as you start wrangling about this, you risk falling into Maya, because you're dealing with subjects that are beyond the scope of material intelligence, because material intelligence is bound up by time and space. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur says you'll just end up causing factions. Factions! Anything else? Yes?
Guru Maharaj, you were talking about this, the content which Krishna created.
Wait.
They want to give you the microphone because everything you say is important.
Thank you. Sure.
Guru Maharaj, you mentioned about Krishna creating a content. So that content, how relevant is it to the Kali Yuga? And as we know, people's attention is very short, and the content which they're watching are very, I would say, disgusting in one sense. So how is Krishna's content which he created can be relevant in the Kali Yuga?
A devotee is always thinking how to present Krishna this way, that way, but we're always presenting Krishna. Whether you do it online, whether you do it through concerts, whether you do it this way, that way, we are presenting Krishna. That's the important thing. Attention spans waver, they increase, they decrease. There are always these fads that come and go, just like Zoom is considered the greatest, and now so many corporations are enacting what they call Zoom-free Fridays. They've had enough. I want to deal with a real person face to face. So it's always like that. Things go in style and out of style. We use whatever is current without getting attached to it. If it's useful for Krishna's service, we use it. But we're always trying to present Krishna, whether speaking face to face or through the internet, through this, through that. Okay? Yes?
I remember reading in the Caitanya how the mood of Boma Vrindavan is carried over into Goloka. In other words, there's a connection in, you can say, in memory or mood, or you need to say something about that.
Well, Gopakumar, he saw there's actually no difference. He was going back and forth between Boma Vrindavan and Goloka Vrindavan with ease. Now, of course, when you go to Boma Vrindavan, you won't see what Gopakumar saw. Not just yet, but it's there. The Goswamis saw it all. They saw all the Kalparikshas. They saw the Surabi cows. But we go and see, a dusty town with lots of traffic and lots of noise, lots of merchants. Everything depends on your vision, not your physical location or geography. Therefore, as we spoke a couple of days ago, when Prabhupada was in Melbourne, he announced, this is not Melbourne, this is Vaikuntha. And then he said, this is Vrindavan. If you're always thinking, how can I best serve Krishna for his pleasure? Then you're in Vrindavan, wherever you are. All right. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.